How are you? Are you also one of those people who have been complaining lately that your hair is getting thinner and finer? Many people notice this on their pillow in the morning, or when they're taking a shower and the drain gets full of hair, or on their hairbrush. Maybe where you part your hair, sometimes the scalp starts to show, and sometimes even with your hair down, you can see the scalp, right? Because the hair is very fine, very thin, and there's much less hair compared to how it used to be. And there are people who say, there's nothing you can do after 40, 50, 60, that's just how it is. It's because of age, of my genetics. But that's not exactly true. Many people don't know that the gut can play a very interesting and extremely important role in hair health. I'm going to tell you here what the real role of the gut is and a drink that can help you improve this. You're going to love this video. Stay until the end because you won't want to miss it. Before we start, I want to ask you, how long have you noticed that your hair has changed? Has it been a short time or a long time? Is it starting to pile up? Are you getting anxious or nervous about it? Write to me down below in the comments. I would love to see your comment. Remember to like the video. That's really important to me. And if you know someone who could benefit from this content, share it, okay? Let's help it reach more people who need it and expand this chain of kindness. When we think about hair, we rarely think about the gut, right? But there is a very important and scientifically established connection regarding this, because when we think about the gut, we imagine that organ just sitting there digesting food, but it actually works as a major regulatory center for our body. The gut is directly involved in nutrient absorption, inflammation control, the functioning of our body's immune system, the production of metabolic substances, and even communication with the brain through the so-called gut-brain axis. I even have a video here on the channel explaining why the gut is currently considered, according to science, our second brain. This video is really interesting and I'll leave it down below in the description for you. So all these things in which the gut is directly involved can influence the hair because the hair follicle is one of the most metabolically active structures in our body. The hair strand is in constant growth, renewal, and protein production. To sustain this process, the hair follicle needs to continuously receive amino acids and minerals like iron, zinc, B-complex vitamins, oxygen, obviously, energy, and good blood circulation, which is the supply route through which everything will arrive. The problem is that hair, unfortunately, even though we love our hair and it's very beautiful and really an extremely important factor for our self-esteem and our own self-expression, right? Our personality and everything else, it is not a biological priority for your body. If your body sees that you are inflamed, have nutritional deficiencies, metabolic stress, or difficulty absorbing nutrients, it will redirect those resources to vital, important organs like your brain, your liver, your heart, and your kidneys. And hair gets left for later. And this happens very quickly, which can have a huge impact on the health and growth of your hair. Thinking about this very common eating pattern nowadays, which we know most people have, where people eat a lot of ultra-processed foods, a lot of sugar, or foods that quickly turn into sugar, right? Flour, white bread, white pasta, white rice, little fiber, few vegetables, lots of processed foods. This type of diet profoundly alters the gut microbiota, the little organisms that live in our intestines, because there are trillions of bacteria living there. And those bacteria aren't there for nothing. They take part in digestion, in the production of anti-inflammatory compounds, in immune balance, and even in protecting the intestinal barrier, which is very important for our gut. So when the diet is low in fiber and high in ultra-processed foods, the gut microbiota loses diversity. In other words, the environment becomes less balanced, and this encourages that low-grade chronic inflammation present in the intestine. It's not that intense inflammation that causes fever or heat. It's a silent and chronic inflammation, where the body is constantly receiving small inflammatory stimuli. And this matters a lot for hair, because the hair follicle is extremely sensitive to the body's inflammatory environment, as I've already explained to you. We know nowadays that this chronic inflammation, this increased oxidative stress, can actually alter the hair's own cycle. We know that hair grows in cycles, right? And more follicles enter the resting phase prematurely when the body is more inflamed. So hair growth slows down, the strands may grow thinner, and the scalp can become metabolically less healthy. Besides that, an inflamed gut can actually impair the absorption of nutrients that are essential for hair, like I told you it needs, right? And there's a very interesting detail because some people say, oh, I eat really well. But sometimes the person isn't absorbing as well as they think because especially after 50 or 60 years old, with aging, many people start producing less stomach acid. So their digestive efficiency gets worse. And on top of that, the gut bacteria, the bacteria in the intestine, may already be out of balance over the years. So this can reduce the absorption of iron, zinc, B12, and proteins. So it's not just about the diet, although that's very important, but also making sure that the gut is healthy enough to be able to absorb these nutrients. Thinking about how to improve gut health, one of the things you can focus on consuming is fiber, because when it's soluble fiber especially, it ferments in our intestines and the beneficial bacteria in the gut feed on these short-chain fatty acids that the fiber produces. So vegetables, legumes, chia, flaxseed, oats, lentils, all these foods that are rich in soluble fibers like psyllium are good options for you to add more of in your daily routine to improve the growth of good bacteria. In addition, these compounds that fibers produce through their fermentation also help maintain the integrity of the intestinal barrier, reduce inflammation, and support the metabolic balance of our body as a whole. There's another very interesting point as well regarding people who say, well, I eat relatively well, right? I don't really eat a diet that's very rich in processed foods, so my body should be absorbing things well. My body should have access to these nutrients. But absorbing nutrients is different from consuming nutrients, right? You eat, and then your intestine has to be able to get those nutrients into your bloodstream. And that's exactly where the gut comes into play in this story, right? Because hair depends on the arrival of these nutrients, as I mentioned to you. But these nutrients have to go through several stages of absorption and digestion before they reach the hair follicle. So many people start to develop deficiencies or different needs at this point. And besides that issue with gastric acid that I mentioned to you, the stomach acids, which can decrease as we age. So ideally, you should consume foods that are rich in iron and protein, which will be able to provide the supply you need of these important minerals. It's important to have a good variety in your diet, but also, as I mentioned before, to nourish your gut to ensure that your intestinal cells, the enterocytes, are capable of absorbing these nutrients. This is very important. So, one thing that can help you is a homemade drink that you can make daily, just one small glass a day. By incorporating it into your daily routine, it can include ingredients that improve gut health, and it can also have ingredients that benefit hair health as well. Let's talk more about this drink, which is so interesting. I thought of a combination that is really interesting. If we can mix together in a glass kefir or natural yogurt, which will give us the probiotic base of this drink. We know how important probiotics are for gut health, and they also contain protein, right? Because they're usually milk-based. So you're basically killing two birds with one stone. There's also the chia itself, which provides soluble fiber that also helps with this issue of intestinal fermentation and the growth of good bacteria. 100% cocoa is a very interesting source of iron, and people don't usually make that connection. And we know that maintaining good iron stores is very important for hair health. Just to make a side note here, when analyzing your blood tests, the dermatologist needs to look not just at your serum iron and hemoglobin, but also at your iron stores, transferrin, and ferritin. He already knows this, of course, but I'm telling you so you can discuss it with him and talk more during your appointment, because when these levels are low, your hair really feels it. One of the first things you'll notice is hair loss, so making sure you have a good iron intake is important, and that's where cocoa comes in. And fruits rich in vitamin C, like strawberries, kiwi, a lemon if you think it goes well, an orange, passion fruit, because the vitamin C in these fruits helps with the absorption of this iron, which is non-heme iron. It needs to be more easily solubilized to facilitate its absorption. Remember that if you want to focus on foods that are sources of iron, those are usually animal-based foods, right? Which contain heme iron bound to hemoglobin. Since they're already linked to protein, it makes their transport in the intestine easier. I have an entire playlist about skin, hair, and nails with other interesting recipes and tips. I'll leave it down below in the description for you. Many people who usually have irregular bowel movements, recurring hair loss, insulin resistance, or low protein intake can benefit from regularly consuming this drink. Of course, remember that it's not going to work miracles, right? The idea of this video is to help you in a consistent way over time so that you have a daily drink to remind you of this moment in your day to nourish your gut and improve your nutrient intake. But obviously, if you're experiencing significant hair loss, if you're already taking medication to control it, or if you already have a diagnosed scalp condition, you should, of course, continue following the guidance of your dermatologist and nutritionist who know you personally, okay? This video is for informational purposes only. Tell me down below in the comments whether what usually bothers you more about your hair is hair loss or hair thinning. Let me know, because I'd love to see your comment. Leave a like on the video to help me out and share it with anyone who might like it or needs it, okay? Let's expand our chain of kindness, because that's what I want here on the channel. See you next time. Bye.